Boker Tov, Yom Tov, Zarim Tovim, and Lila Tov. No matter where you are at, I am live streaming. We are going to be utilizing this platform so I can get some practice on it. Thank you for joining. Hi, Liz. It's good to see you. We are going to be using this platform to share scriptures, and this way I can interact with you. I do want to say that for anybody that is joining us on Facebook, that I cannot see the comments. So if you are joining live on Facebook, first of all, I don't know that you're there because I can't see you. Second of all, if you are trying to make comments to me and ask questions, I won't be able to see it until later, until I go back onto Facebook and actually answer your questions that way. So if you would like to participate and you would like me to be able to see that you're here, if you perchance have some questions, the only way I'm going to be able to address these live is if you hop on over to our YouTube channel, which is The Stand 121. So again, thank you. I know that we only have 4 in the room right now, and that's okay, because this will be posting afterwards on YouTube and also on Facebook. So the replay available for everybody else. So for now, keep this caption on the bottom so anybody that decides to join in that's new can see this and decide whether or not they want to pop on over and join us in the YouTube section as comments go. So thank you for taking your time. Hi, Jamie. It's good to see you. I'm really happy to have you here. As always, I'm sending you light and love. What I wanted to talk about, first of all, I wanted to answer some questions. I had someone ask me, they were wanting to have clarity on a comment that I made regarding that there is no good or evil. And when we are in duality, then there is good and evil because this is what we are to learn from in our School of Divinity. I was making that comment as a reference of 0 point. And 0 point is when we have taken both ends of the polarity spectrum. So, for example, the good and evil, and we bring them into unity, into one, realizing that we are experiencing life here, experiencing good and evil, so that we can know the difference and also know kind of the vanity of going too far out in the on the spectrums from 0 point. So this is a liken to kinetic energy versus potential energy. So when we have rendered everything clear and we have brought them into 0 point, we are at a place where we are at potential energy. It is a place where energy is always available for us, and we have no distortion one way or the other, either good or evil. We have the potential of both. And this is the place where our energy is constant and it is never depleted because we're reserved in that moment in the 0 point energy. You can connect this to Tesla with the 369. This is the energy that's on the etheric realm that is always around us as potential energy. Kinetic energy is when we move to 0 point to either going towards good or going towards evil, because this is taking the potential energy and making it kinetic. And the further that we go out on the poles, the further extreme we have. So the comment that was being made to me was regarding things like human trafficking and the abuse of children and people that have had, or murderers, and looking at how do I render that claim there is no good or evil. Back to the point I shared before, that in the system of duality, that very much is present because this is how we learn in our School of Divinity as the Elohim. Especially since we came in through the veil of forgetting, we don't remember who we are, but we are experiencing our own creation, and we have to understand kinetic versus the potential energy and what that looks like. So again, the further out you move from 0 point, so a distortion either way would be either good or evil. And the further out on the spectrum, the greater the good, but the greater of the evil. And in the system of duality, we must have balance at all times. So if there's greater evil, then the light has to come and counter that to bring balance and homeostasis back into where we are living and where we are experiencing. Right now, we've been under gross darkness for far too long. This is why when we moved into age of light increase because we've been under incredible darkness for far too long. So basically, on the spectrums, if you were to look at evil being as far dark as it has, the light has to come and push it back so that it can get back into the balance in the place of koshet, which I want to share that word with. So we are going to do a screen share, and I'm going to bring up the Hebrew word koshet so that you can see what I'm speaking about. I'm also doing practice of jumping back and forth between texts and things that I'm sharing so that I know that you're seeing it and we're just not stuck on something. So here's the Hebrew word koshet. And koshet, in its root, this is another word for truth. We've talked before about well, this one is koshet. And when I found this word, I was super excited, and you'll see why. Because it has to do with reality. And it is about evenly weighed, about bringing balance. So when I'm talking about 0 point kinetic energy versus, the potential energy versus kinetic energy, it is about bringing balance back into where we live in our universe, because it has been so grossly not balanced because we've been in dark, or dark in the way we're looking at it right now, regarding our consciousness levels, is that we have been darkened, we've been dimmed, we've been ignorant to what has been happening around us, and many of us are waking up. So when you take a look at the word koshet, we have the kuf, which is compression of light during the circle of time. And in the Paleo Hebrew, it's a circle with a line dividing it. It's a representation of the horizon where something is being unseen and something is being seen. So you can see the light and the dark, and the line in between is the narrow path between the light and the dark, the narrow path that few find. And it is about compressing light within us during the circle of time, because this is also, the kuf is connected to time. And in our time circle, when we were here, we compress light, and we find the difference between the light and the dark. And light is information. So this is raising up our consciousness level as the consuming fire that gives us the power to deal with our fallen flesh nature. But we are going to be wrestling this in order to bring balance to the equation. Again, in case anybody else is joining us at this point, is bringing balance into the equation, into our reality. And that's what we are attempting to do with the sacred language, is being able to bring light forth through the languages of light and love that are going to have to be wrestled in the world, which has been in gross darkness of ignorance. And because of that, and because we haven't known what we are definitely out of balance. So that's what I wanted to talk about regarding koshet. I'm going to mark that off my list. I'm trying to be a little bit more focused than I was last time we were sharing. Wonderful. I'm getting to see now everybody that is joining in. I'm happy to see you here. You guys are very kind. I love you so much. And I'm serious when I say that. I feel your energy, and I feel you. I feel your presence, and that's why I wanted to start doing these live shows. We could actually be able to exchange our energy with one another as we're creating such an incredible environment of light and love. And we're bringing balance. We're bringing koshet back into the equation. So in looking at that, now I want to move on, and hopefully that answered about that there is no good and evil when we look at it the higher perspective. So again, to answer to close this question out, when we are no longer needing the system of duality because we've learned what we've needed to in our school of divinity, rendering everything into oneness, then that is when we have everything established and balanced once again. And then we can see that there is no good and evil. It is just a measurement of experience in our school of divinity. So again, I hope that answered the question. The next question that I had, and I'm going to take the screen share off because we can just talk here. There we go. The next question that I was asked was it was regarding mother and father. And I was talking about that father was more of the deep side of things. And the individual that was listening felt that the mother was the mysterious, regarding like the moon and the womb and everything else. And because I think they were newer to our channel, they probably hadn't heard some of our teachings in which we were comparing what the teachings of mother and father do. And so there is the teaching pattern of Yod He Vav He, mother then father, and what they are teaching. And I wanted to answer this question after sharing the word koshet with you, because mother's job in rearing us, because we're having to reparent ourselves, because most of us didn't have this information, because our parents were in the state of ignorance, because it was withheld from us. So now we're finding ourselves as adults having to reparent ourselves. So mother's teaching in a perfect setting, if you had children, you would be raising your child with this instruction from the age of 0 to 12. And from 0 to 12, it is teaching the divine masculine, which is very linear in thinking. And that's why when we teach through the sacred languages of the Aleph Bayit Ivri, which is the word for Hebrew alphabet, it is very systematic, one letter at a time, the Aleph to the Bet to the Gimel to the Dalet. It's very linear in fashion. And because it's linear in fashion, this allows us to be able to move through the process of maturation, knowing that there are sequential steps that are ordered in our maturation and our ascension process. So that's what mother does, is she teaches the divine masculine. Now, when we are past that place, when we've reached the place of maturity, aka the age of accountability, and I'm saying that because when I was in the Christian church, I always heard that the age of accountability was 12, but nobody explained to me why. It is a very Hebrew concept. Is mother's teaching takes us to the place of accountability because we learn in a very black and white system at that point. This is where we learn duality of good and evil, of right and wrong. um, Mother has to set the course on that so that we can determine and rightly judge and adjudicate ourselves based on what she is teaching us to learn from our school, in our school of divinity. Mother's job is to help rear us up, and father's job as well is rearing us up in the way that we should go, so that when we attain adulthood, we won't depart from it, because we will understand the purpose in the process of the maturation, which is really angel morphology. I'm not going to go into detail on that today. I can go to the YouTube channel and actually look up angel morphism, which was a concept the Qumran community spoke of. And so they were very intimately involved in raising their children up in this process that I'm describing to you. So again, mother teaches the divine masculine, get the point of age of 12 of accountability, where we know what right and wrong is, what good and evil is, because then we learn to adjudicate ourselves. The whole process of while we are here is to learn to be sovereigns, so that we are standing. We don't need the government, we need anybody else to tell us how that we should be living our lives and what we should be doing, as we are being raised up into our own spiritual sovereignty, where that we can stand, make decisions for ourselves, and not have something over us determining what's going to happen to our life. This is really taking responsibility. And mother and father, if we were reared correctly and had this, and we were under this tutelage, our entire country, our entire world would be different. So we are wanting to bring these things forward so that we can move ourselves in the process of maturation, in this ascension process, and be able to show how this can be duplicated within our homes when we have children, to be able to raise them in the way they should go, so that we can actually lift the entire consciousness of this planet into the new earth. That's essentially what we're talking about here. So when we reach the age of accountability at 12, father then takes over. And father is the one who is teaching the divine feminine. Divine feminine is the mysterious, it's the deep teachings, it's the spiral thinking that takes a box of mother, and inside of it is within the constructs of thinking. This is the creative thinking that actually is needed within our creating reality. Now, this goes back to the word koshet, and for those people who have just joined on, if there are new ones, I am going to show this one more time so that we can connect this to what I previously shared. We were talking about the word koshet, and in the word koshet, we were looking at this was that meant truth. This was another word for truth, and it means equity, to be balanced, and reality. So this is important that we comprehend this, and why I wanted to answer the question about mother and father and what they teach, because if we don't have this, then it doesn't make sense. And so the words that I'm saying are completely confusing, as not understanding that mother must teach the divine masculine in order for her to be balanced. If she was just teaching the divine feminine, then there wouldn't be anything to balance in the masculine principle because she is a feminine in nature. So mother teaches the divine masculine, father teaches the divine feminine, which is balanced. So that's where I was coming from on that. And I don't know how many probably teachings I've shared on the YouTube channel to try to bring some more clarity in that. But right here, that's why this word cochet was so amazing, to be able to link and answer these questions. So now what I would like to do, if you guys, while you're watching this, I know some of this, I'll wait and I'll ask questions or ask for questions at the end. Because really in my line of thinking, I like to be able to continue through and not get too far off, because this splinters out in so many different fractals, because we're really speaking of the all. That's what Ken says a lot of the times when we're sharing things with you guys, is that when we're talking about the all and we're trying to fragment it out, it can go so far and so wide and we can get really off track. So what I would like to do, hi Tina, I'm so happy to see you guys here. Thank you. I'm glad that we're still having more that are joining in and jumping in. Fat fingers, that's funny. So what I want to do now is I want to share a revelation that came to me this morning that just knocked the socks off of me. And I will stop screen sharing at this point because I don't need to. What really knocked me off of my feet was, I'm trying to get the this little thing off of here. So hold on just a second. I'm still learning. There we go. No, I don't really want to do that either. So there we go. What knocked me off my socks this morning, or out of my socks, was I was contemplating the word Eve. And the reason why was Adam and Chava. Adam is the word for mankind, and Chava is the mother of all living. And Chava, Het Vav He, and I will be sharing the letters with you in a moment here, but I just want to talk for a brief second. Chava is the name for Eve. And I'm not exactly sure why they wanted to hide that, other than the Hebrew letter chet has the guttural sound, and so maybe it was easier just to make it Eve. I don't know. I don't know why they would want to hide it, other than the fact that once we did connect some dots here, maybe it'll make it more clear as to why they wanted to hide what Chava was. So again, the story in the garden is about mankind. It's not about a woman and a man, even though in our lives, in the micro and the macro, this can be played out, very much so. So in the story of mankind, mankind was put into Tardame, which was a deep slumber, and part of Adam was removed, and it was Chava. Chava was taken out of Adam, and she was the mother of all living. And this is why when we are born again, which is again just is a phrase that means that we are born into life, because when we enter into the place of death, because this isn't real life. This is an experience that we're having in a flesh suit that has an expiration date. So really we're entering into the place of death, because on the other side of this veil is eternal life. So Chava, finding Chava is really finding eternal life. And I had set Chava up on the shelf for a while because I just couldn't figure out how to make it fit. And so this morning when I was meditating, it hit me like a bolt in my tush as I was sitting there and letting what was being revealed to me in my meditation time. So I really want to show this to you. And to do this, we need to go and change change directions here. Screen. Just a moment. Now what we are going to do is we're going to take a look at these two words here. The first one that I want to show you is the top one. And this top one that we're going to be looking at, this is the word Chava. This is the name for Eve. And what we have in Chava, which is so fascinating, I'm going to clear the screen here so that we can actually start looking at one letter at a time. The het right here, het, the spelling that I have here below, This is the constituent letters that make up the symbol chet. One of the things that is lost in translation is that the A in English is not constructed of any other letters, nor does it have a meaning, but the Hebrew letters do. So this first letter in Chava's name is actually spelled through the three constituent letters of Chet, Yod, Tav. So these letters are the signature frequency of these three letters that decided to come together with their energy signatures to form the symbol. Even though you don't see them, they are there. So we have the Chet, we have the Vav, and the Hey. Now, the reason why I decided to show you this bottom one and why it was so important is this was the revelation that hit me with this word right here. Because this is the symbol Chet, the sages, the wise, those who are of the mystic path in Hebrew, understood that the letter Chet was the mysterious. It was the letter of life. And now I'm comprehending that because in of itself, the word life is there. And why is that? Well, it's right here. Het Yod, these two letters form the word that makes life. So the reason why I was so darn saw this, or when it was revealed to me this morning, is that Chava is the word that would be in static point of potential energy, which is what I started this whole thing with. It was energy is the potential energy that we experience when we're in the place of 0 point. So Chava, that was taken out of Adam, was life that was in the place of potential waiting to be activated. When we find life, the letter Chet, it becomes an active status. So Adam, when he was put in his tardime, in his slumber, when we were entering into the place of death because of the expiration of our flesh suit, what's happening is that when we find Chava and find eternal life, this is a mindset of our consciousness that is awakened to the fact that we are eternal beings. We don't have an expiration date. Our flesh suit does. But thus, us as living entities that are eternal, because energy is only transferred, it cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred from vessel to vessel. When we find Chava, which was taken out of Adam, this is when we find eternal life. Now, if we go back to our beautiful letters that I was sharing with you, because I think it's important to then show you where we're going with this. When we take, sorry, I chose the wrong screen. Let's try that again. So when we're looking at the letters, if you followed my teachings for a while, and I'm sorry if this is all new because it's going to be hard for you to follow, but whenever a yod is present, it is meaning to be connected to a vav. The yod is the vision, which is something that's being presented to us and we need to connect to it. And the vav means to connect. So Chava in her name is life that is connected to revelation because that's what the Hey is. Hey is revelation. So when we see the word Chet, which is our symbol for life, it is already telling us that life is being presented to us through a vision that will be given. And this vision is meant for us to be marked with the covenant, the sign of the covenant, which is Father's covenant. This is the mark, Tavav, that tells us that we are exempt from judgment because we're no longer judging. We have found life, we have found love. We are no longer judging because we have now found that we are eternal beings and that this whole thing is about experience. So when we find Chava, it's through the Het. So when we get this revelation, we then connect to it, and this Vav becomes something that is within us on the inside. This revelation comes to us on the inside. And this revelation is then revealed to us through the Hey. And when we have this revelation and we're working with it, which is Father's teaching, connecting us to our higher self, once we have made that connection, we have been able to see it clearly, we are then marked with his covenant. I'm not sure if you were able to follow all of that, but what I'm presenting here to you, because I think this is very important that we see these things, what I am presenting to you is the actual evidence to show the words that I'm speaking that can be proven to you. So when Ken and I say things, we always take it to the word in order to have the proof so you can see that it was already written. So finding Chava is finding life eternal. It's the vision that is given to us through this revelation of being set on the outside of this covenant, finding it, connecting to it, and then being revealed Father's teaching, which really is reestablishing our higher self, part of what was removed from us in the garden because we needed to come in and discover these things of who we are and experience living in our own creation so that we could be marked with the Father's covenant. So the letter Het in the Hebrew language is finding Chava and then being marked with eternal life. The very next letter is the Tet, which means to wrestle. It means that you're going to have to wrestle life while living in death. And so that is why when some people say to me, I just don't want to be here anymore. And I've been there. Trust me, I've been there, done that. The reason why we say we don't want to be here anymore is because we entered into death as soon as we came here. Life is on the other side. So what I just shared with you through finding Chava, finding life, the mother of all living, is that when we go and we find that, we then get into the basket with the snake, which is the seraphic message of living in the system of duality, realizing that we have to choose life, but we're going to be wrestling it while we entered into death. And we don't want to be here anymore because where we came from, and we just don't remember it, was a place of eternal life and energy. This is so counter to who we are as energetic beings. And so that revelation by itself just blew my mind. And I wanted to share that with you. I'm hoping that I explained it. But if you can take it to home, if some of you guys are at a place where you're really feeling like you're at the end of the rope and you're like, I just don't want to be here anymore. Well, it's because you're wrestling the fact that we are eternal beings that have been put in the place of a lower dimension that has an expiration on it, that is death. And this is why death, moving through the waters of chaos, connecting to the covenant of one love, is then when we experience that we are eternal beings and death loses its sting. And I totally agree with you, Joe. I'm going to share this with people so they can see this. I hope that's okay. I mean, you've got it on here. But I totally agree with your comment on this because that was where I was. You know, I that was a huge fear of mine. And when you're able to see this, then you don't fear death anymore because you found life. And yes, I feel light as bubbles too, Joe. This is why these revelations are so profound. So I know we're already 30 minutes into this live stream, but I wanted to now take us into another verse is going to be connecting to Adam and Eva. Before I get too far, though, I think it's important that I really want to be able to show you that Eve's name is Chava so that you can connect to what I was saying. And we're going to go into Genesis 3:20 here. And out of the name of his wife was Eve. There's Chava. There's the word that we were looking at right there. This verse by itself is phenomenal, and one of these days I will be doing a teaching on it, but that's going to have to be for another day because that's what we're having today. So moving on, the next thing to share with you, the next thing I would like to share with you is that we are going to go into Ecclesiastes. We are going to go into Ecclesiastes 9:1. I just need to make sure very quickly, and you are not. So let me move into the screen sharing. of that verse, and then you're going to see why I wanted to share it with you. So in Ecclesiastes 9:1, in the mechanical translation, it says, "For all this I considered in my heart, so that I could declare all this, that the righteous and the wise in their works in the hand of God, either love or hatred, not know people anything before them." I didn't read to you these words that are within the brackets. And the reason why I didn't read those to you is because those have been added for grammatical purposes only. And because they were added for grammatical purposes only, um, it's something that the interpreters wanted to put in for continuity of thought in the way they interpreted it. So we're going to skip over their comments that they've added in, and we're going to take a look at word by word. So going back into this verse so that I can actually go in. Again, sorry about it. I'm just trying to use and learn the software. Let's take a look at word by word, and I will try to go a little bit quicker through this because I could pause on all of this stuff and do a lot, but it'll make this life far too long. So the very first word that we're looking at, I've shared before, and so is Ken, it's key. And if you think about this, the key to this verse, it's not a coincidence that this is the transliteration of the word. This means to grasp power. It means to be tamed and yoked to that which you fill your cup with, which is going to give you power. One is grasping and the other is giving. So the hand that is grasping the power that is being given, and then the very next word that we see is the Aleph Tav. Did you notice Aleph Tav has not been translated? The translators did not know what to do with this because this is a summary, a summation of Hebrew Aleph Bayit Ivri, the Hebrew alphabet, the Aleph through the Tav. And when we look at it, it is the strong leader of the covenant. Aleph also means one, which means one covenant. We could also see this as being one love, because the covenant is about uniting the divine masculine together in the sacred wedding, which some would correlate to the Kundalini experience. So this is the covenant of one love. The Aleph through the Tav, the letters, one step at a time, that is leading us to the Kaf Lamed. Now, this is a word that is from Kalel, meaning to can be completed, to be perfected. And what is this saying? Well, it's also a word that means whole and all. So this is the completion and the perfection of those who grasp a hold and fill their cup with instruction. As Lamed is a word that means to instruct. It is also a representation of a shepherd's staff. It means authority. So this is grasping a hold of the authority that comes from the teaching shepherd that presents to us the letters of light and love. And why am I saying that? Well, it's the Aleph Tav that is connected to this word. That's why the conjunctive dash is there. And this is pertaining to the bride as she is making her garments and getting them ready. Then we have the Kaf Lamed about us being made whole by filling our cup, by grasping a hold of the instruction. And then we have the word Zeh. Now, when we look at the word Zeh, it's important that we connect some other dots. So let me just make sure that you're following along. Good. We are following along. So I'm going to go back in to this. Just wanting to double check. So this word Zeh, when we look into it a little bit further, is also the same word. Look at that for lamb. That might be connecting some dots for some of you, as for me. And Zeh, as lamb, we all have the Zayin, which is in a plow, brings revelation. We've entered into the place where we are, first of all, we need to plow the fallow ground within our hearts so seeds can be planted. But also, the Zeh, the Zayin, is also a sword that is cutting off that which is no longer is coming. My sheep hear my voice, the lambs entering in as little children. So, in looking at this, in connecting that I was sharing with you, so to complete ourselves, to become all, to become whole, whole is grasping hold of the instruction, which is in the sword and the plow, that brings us revelation. Now it's interesting that they took this next word and they translated it as I can see. When you take a look at what this word is actually giving to us, it is a word that means to give, put, set, bestow, grant, devote, consecrate, dedicate. There's much to this, but in its simple definition, it means to give. And I'm going to show you the root so that you can see what has happened and how this word morphed. Because again, any addition and deletions of the letters have meanings. So we have Natan here. Now, Natan, Nun, Tav Nun, this is the spiritual path and the material path. But this has to do, and that's why the Nun and the Nun Sophit, it is the spiritual path that is within the material world that where we find the covenant. This is where we are given in the covenant. And the Nun is the seed of life. It means to propagate. It means to produce an heir. It's also the seed of us a strong foundation of the base as we are germinating and become. I didn't mean to go that far back. Let's go back here. We have the second Nun was left out. Remember, it was a Nun Tav and a Nun Sophit. Well, the Nun Sophit was deleted. So that means that we're talking about something that is highly spiritual in nature, that has nothing to do with the fallen flesh or a fallen message or a fallen seed. This has to do with a spiritual message of a seed that brings forth life through the twin covenants. And the twin covenants are of mother and father. That's why in the beginning I was talking to you about the clarification of mother and father, the one that teaches us the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and these both give us power. Notice that this tav has a dagesh in it. This means to be pierced. This means to be pierced with the seed vision that is going to be giving us life and the power necessary for us to enter into the door of the inward man to reveal where we are weak and feeble and deliver ourselves. And it's through our spiritual path, through the twin covenants, that we are given this power. So again, if you're connecting all this to what we've been sharing before, it's pretty profound that this is our equipping of what we need to grasp a hold of these instructions through the sacred languages that is giving us power. And then what's the next word? It's the Hebrew word for El, which is God. Strong leader, teaching shepherds who instruct. El. Connected to our heart. So again, these things are being given to us so that we can be one and instructed in our heart. This is where the heart is beginning to understand and know that we are becoming one with God. I and my Father are one. And when we look at the word heart, we have the word letter instruct, and then we have the bet, which means inside. This is instruction on the inside of our heart where we are given power. This is where our power comes from. And so El is in the place of one who instructs the heart. We have to have both covenants, and for that to happen, the divine feminine and the divine masculine. Then we move into the word meaning declare. And this is what I find so fascinating because this word means to make clear, clear up and explain and prove and to bore into and to declare it. Well, when we look at the root or where it's coming from, it's bet vavresh. Bet vavresh. And the first time this word is used is in the we're looking at right here in Ecclesiastes. So to make clear, to clear up and explain, now we see that the lamed was added in front. So when we were looking at instruction to prior and being taught the principle of one, which is the authority that we have on the inside that gives us power, this is showing us the shepherd of light, Lamed, who has the staff of authority, is bringing us forward to clear this matter up through the Aleph Tav. So So they've connected to mocking and humility. They are instructing the heart as authority on the inside that has been pierced and connected to the source in order to raise the poor and destitute up to be first fruit leaders. And again, we have the Aleph Tav. If you notice that we've got this pattern, these are the same three words that we had above, the exact same order. Aleph Tav, Kal, Zeh. So again, and whenever you see a pattern like this, where one is the same, and I'm going to take it a little bit further for you so you can see this. When we see it in its written form, sorry, I went down way too far. In its written form, when we look at this phrase, and it's the exact same phrase, we have the Aleph Tav, Kaf Lamed Zeh. We have the Aleph Tav, Kaf Lamed Zeh. This is the covenant between the pieces, meaning mother's teachings first, father's teaching second, and what do we have in the middle? Right in the middle is this. It's what we were talking about, the twin covenants, the spiritual path that is given through the twin covenant that gives us power as strong leader teaching shepherds that will instruct the inside, our heart, and give it power. But we must first connect to mother, to the teachings that the teaching shepherd brings, which is the living waters. That is the door that opens this revelation up to you, that will explain it to you to make it clear that you can instruct the inside of yourself, connecting to source creator within to raise you up to be a first leader. And that repeated once again, the prefix and the suffix, the covenant of the pieces, which is actually connected to Abraham when the promise was made to his seed come through his lineage. That is so amazing. Then we're going to land the plane here soon because I know this is going long. But then we have the word Asher. This is the root. This is where Asherah comes from, the queen of heaven, the goddess. And it is fire upon the head, because Aleph Shin means fire in Hebrew. Resh is the head. And so we have oneness teachings that are the consuming fire that gives us the power to overcome our fallen flesh nature that was making us poor and destitute and raising us up to be a first fruit, so that we have her upon our head. This is actually the making of the seraphim from the cherubim. The seraphic message was to teach us the way of one, the way of fire, to raise us up. That is what the serpent was teaching, and they translated it as serpent, and it was a seraphim messenger who was bringing fire to us so that we could have a burning heart, one that knows love, experiences it, and gives it. So then the next word we have is Zadik, righteous. And what do we have? Zadik is from Zadok or Zadok, if you want to connect some dots to the priest that served in David's time. It's the first time Zadok showed up. This is also connected to Melchizedek, the king and queens of righteousness. But what we have here is that the root doesn't normally have a yod in it, and now we have the yod. So this is one who has been powered on the inside that is righteous in what they are doing. The hay is mother who reveals what righteousness is, so that this vision can be planted within you in the center of your being, so that you can be part of Yod Mem, which is the C, which is a representation of Asherah, which we explained before. Upon the head is the burning ones that are the leaders. Yod Mem is the symbolic reference to the goddess, the Queen of Heaven. So, hey, there's a hidden lamed behind this that you don't see. It's something that Hebrew does. They leave out the lamed. So mother's revelation is the hidden instructions that will make and give you the way of righteousness. You're going to have to hunt and chase this yourself, which is a spiritual path, and the door must be opened up to you. So this revelation can be given on the inside that empowers you so you can press light within the circle of time. The Father's power will be given to you, and you will be now set above in the waters of shalom instead of chaos. It's a huge word, huge word. And I'm not even giving it the fullness of it. I'll end up losing you because it's too much information. But now we're talking about wisdom and the wise. Cham is the root for wisdom. And look, we have our little chet. So this is finding Chava, bringing forth life by grasping a hold of the living water teachings. Elohim, we literally have the word for water right here. So this is mother and father. Mother, you find her teachings in the waters of chaos, and they are connected by a common vision so that you can enter into father's teachings of the peaceful waters above as Asherah, as the queen of heaven who has wisdom. And connecting to mother and her revelation, she will give you the hidden instruction to find life so you can fill your cup with the living water teachings to make you wise. But you must first be humble and teachable in order for that to happen. I'm going to check back on you and see if we've got any other questions, and we're going to continue going on. And it looks like I love my little virtual hugs. Thank you. I am giving them right back to you. Let's go back into the word. I know, take a quick breather. That was a lot. I know it is. When people want me to simplify the message on these things, it's very difficult for me to do it because the Hebrew words have so much information that in order to translate them into English, you have to use a lot more words. The good thing is that when you learn, you can read this and see that it is truly shorthand, because in knowing all of these things, then you can it comes to you as you're seeing it because you're excavating it in real time, because you've already compressed so much light that this information is already within you and you can connect to it at light speed. And you don't need to go into the painstaking process like I'm doing with you right now, verse by verse, letter by letter, word by word, and digging it out. And it's very excruciating. So I'm showing you the process that for us to go through this. So let's go back into the verse. Hopefully that gave you enough time to be able to breathe. And we'll finish it out with the last several words. Now we have the word about and their works. So we're talking about Asherah, the seraphim leaders that are righteous and have wisdom, and what their works are. This is the word abed. Now this is an important one for us to look at, and I'm actually going to go into the word itself so that you can see this. It says a work, and they have it. It's from above. It's a deed, work, taking it back to its root, to work and serve. And this is interesting that the very first time that this word is used has to do with mankind and Adam to cultivate the ground. Didn't want to go. Let me move this so that I don't have that happen again. So Adam, mankind, to serve, and it had an added lamed to it. Working and serving, the instruction, teaching shepherd comes to show you how to cultivate the ground. Ha'adamah, there's mankind. So how are you doing it? Through the aleph, through the first and last letters of the language, the first and the last, the beginning and the end, the aleph and the tav, the alpha and omega. Alpha and omega are Greek. So mankind is supposed to be given the revelation of mother and her teaching, and the revelation of teaching, how we cultivate the ground, because this has to do with the revelation that increases the consciousness of mankind, but also of Gaia herself, because we are one with her. And it's through the sacred languages, through the aleph, through the tav. So this is connected to that in what we are looking at right here. This is the work indeed of what we do. This is what the wise do, and those who are righteousness, who are of the Queen of Heaven. And what, I just love this, you guys. I get so excited when I see these things. So again, it's telling us that we have to connect to Mother. The work indeed is done because we are given the eye to see how to build ourselves, how to build the covenant through the 222 process by entering the door of our inner man, where this is being revealed to us to deliver ourselves from our weak and feeble position, because we were lean on understanding, and now we're becoming fat with understanding. I love that. And then we have the Yod He Mem added on the suffix. So we've been seeing this pattern of Yod Mem of the goddess, but now look at this. The goddess has revelation on the inside. So the work indeed is of the goddess, the divine feminine, to bring forth this revelation for us to be on the inside. And the sea of humanity, is meant to be raised up with that divine feminine. And again, it's the work and deed in the hand, okay? Yod Dalet, there is the constituent letters that make up the symbol Yod. So you don't see this, but it is all within this little single symbol. It is bet, build, by their hand. And this is it's from Bana, and it means to build, and it has to do with family, building the family, but the noon is removed. So this is building spiritually through the work and deed of their hand to bring forth this vision, to be the door that will open this revelation to others as Elohim. And I was sharing with you yesterday that Elohim is God reveals the goddess. So this is all connected. The righteous, the wise, their works, what they build with their hand of as Elohim. And this is the revelation of Elohim through the hidden instruction, where we become the strong leader teaching shepherds that carry and bring forth the revelation that brings power to take the waters of chaos to become the waters of shalom. This is about lifting the consciousness up of the entire planet and all of mankind by the work and deed of those of us that are coming into this oneness unity, because then that is what makes us strong leader teaching shepherds of the nation. This is the work of what we are doing and what we are called to. Now look at this last bit, either love or hatred. This is about duality. And again, when I was talking at the beginning about good and evil, about understanding duality as creators having to experience our own creation, either love or hatred. So if you're trying to understand what duality is all about, and as we over and over, whether we have a life full of good or a life full of evil, whether we're holding the positive position or the negative position, it's gam. This is a word that when you look at it, it's indeed, moreover, in itself, you can say it's a nothing word, but this is the paleo meaning of the word gimel, the symbol right here, and it means to gather and to assemble in order to ripen and to wean ourselves, which is the process of maturation. So we are gathering at the waters to gather the waters, which is instruction in love, ahava. And I know that that is going to hit somebody if they're still in the room right now, because their family actually broke down ahava through the paleo meanings of the letters. And they had some really fantastic insights on this. But it is the inhale and the exhale that builds the revelation. So this love is about spirit breath. It is about the spirit of oneness that reveals how to build the family that will be revealed as love, as one love. And because we have both hays that have been divided with the bet in the middle, we have the covenant of pieces right here in one word. It is the revelation of mother that builds the covenant of family that will then reveal the revelation of the Father's teaching for us to become one love. This is really the fullness of the meaning, one love, or that phrase. Moving down, we have another word, gam, again, assembling and gathering what we need. And this is what I wanted to focus on, hatred. Now this, unless you can see this from a higher perspective as it instead of at it, there are some things here that we need to take a look at, because hatred in of itself, when you look, hatred of man or of God. But when you look deeper at how this is written, from the root, we are going to see what this looks like. This is how it was written, but in its root, I'm going to take all the way back. So but hatred is Sheen Nun. This is representation of the letter Sheen. This is the consuming fire that you go through that will elevate you out of your bestial nature by taking the spiritual path and rendering everything into one. So I know it seems like an oxymoron, but it isn't really, because what this is sharing with us is that our lower nature is what hates. And the beautiful thing about the sacred languages is that if you ever need to have a resolve to anything, like you want to resolve what hate is, well, the resolve tells you what you need to do through the letters. You need to consume your beast ego nature. And notice that the Dagesh is on the left-hand side. This is a representation of fire, of Father's fire, not Mother's. This is the deeper works. So this is the consuming fire that goes on the inside that will burn up your lower flesh to give you the elevated flesh to see that we are all one. This is the process of going inside and making sure that we are consuming our lower beast ego nature, because only the lower beast ego nature hates. The higher, and when we get rid of hate and we enter into love, is when we enter into oneness unity, right here. And within this word itself, we have na. And this means, this is a prayer. I beseech thee. I beseech thee to allow the consuming fire of Father to take care of your lower beast ego nature, so you can elevate your flesh and walk on the path of oneness unity. That is going to take care of your hate. I don't know about you, but I think that's fantastic. We have resolve, right? We have resolve right in the word itself to tell us how to take care of the things where we're dealing with to hate. And it's personal. This is a personal issue, and how to resolve it within us. We've got to burn up the lower beast ego nature, because that's the only thing that causes us to hate. And now what we can see here, this is the little secret nugget that I wanted to share with you guys. In this word, we have a hidden, and I'm going to show it to you here. Let me find it here, because I did pull it up because I wanted you to see it. If I can find it here, here we go. It is the word Shana, to do again. Shana is the representation of reincarnation. And this, it has the dot on. This is the consuming fire of Mother. It is meant to put us on the spiritual path to bring forth a revelation we need. And we're going to do it again and again and again and again. Well, let's take a look at what happened in this word back in Ecclesiastes. Hopefully you guys followed that. It probably did. So let me go back. I just realized that it probably didn't. No, it didn't. So my bad. I need to reshare. You can follow this. Again, learning the software. So now we're going to go into the Shana so you can actually see it for yourself. There we go. Yep, it says that it's sharing this tab. I'm so glad you guys are being patient with me. So looking at Shana again, so we've got Mother's consuming fire that will deal with our lower beast ego nature, so we can find and raise ourselves out of that, as it's meant to reveal something to us. So we must go through her consuming fire to get on the spiritual path, because as soon as we get on the spiritual path, revelation is going to come to us. So now going back to our original verse, we can see the little mystery that was connected to what we were looking at. Going back, look what was placed in the middle of Shana, to repeat. The Aleph is in the middle of the word to repeat, and it has a diamond on top of it that is very symbolic. But that little symbol right there is a cannellation mark, and when you go into researching this, this means a gift from God. It also means quadration, which is connected to the 144,000. So it's those who through over and over again that have revelation brought to them that we are all one. This is what is on the inside that you find out, that is a gift from God, that we are all one. And again, I beseech you, I beseech you to find the spiritual path, but it's only going to be found through spirit breath. The inhalation of that which is being revealed to you, that you can then produce that nature within you, rendering everything clear as one, as no longer kinetic, but our potential energy through spirit breath, that we are all one. And look at this. If you've watched any of Ken's teachings, we now have the Ein. This means to be nothing. So what are we being nothing in? Well, this oneness revelation is emptying out our ego so that we become one. And that gives us the power in the flesh by becoming nothing in our ego and uniting ourselves in oneness unity. This is the same word that is connected to Enoch was, and then he was not. It is this word. Oneness unity gives us the power to deal with our fallen flesh by becoming nothing. And then we know. Yada is the intimate knowing. And the root of this is Yod Dalet Ain. And look what was added. The Vav means that you have connected to source within you. As source, become one with source. And you are now filled up, set apart, set above, and have the answer to the dream. Really, this is a dream that we're living in. This isn't really the real is on the other side of exiting out of death into what eternal life is, which is on the outside of our experience here. This is the intuitus, because we went through war on the inside that revealed to us to give us the ability to see the purpose of why we have entered into this place for experience. And look at this. We have people. Ha Adam. This has to do with mankind. And I want to show something to you. We have Ha Adam right here in Genesis 3:20. How amazing is that? Adam finding Chava, life. Oh, of course you didn't see it again. I am so sorry. Let's go back. I'm still getting used to this. I hope you're still sticking in with me here. So now we have, going back to this in 3:20, here's Ha Adam. The same exact word, same gematria, same spelling. It is mankind. So again, this is all connected to the Elohim. Pretty amazing. So we need to shift. I need to go back into, I don't want to stop. I got to figure out how to change this without dumping out. I will figure it out, but it doesn't make it easy for me to go back and forth in tabs. So going back to Ha'adam, this is mankind. And now we are right at the end of this, Hakol. So remember earlier where we were looking at the Kaf Lamed, all the way up here at the top, that the language, the Aleph, the Tav, the strong leader, the one covenant of one love, that was to fill us up and instruct us to make us whole and completed. Well, now we have it connected down here. It is revealing the all, because that's really what it means, all and whole. Revealing the revelation of everything that you need to fill your cup through the instruction, the letters of light and love. And then we have the word before them. They put see, they see, but pana, and I can see why they did this. Pana is the root, and this is pana or panim. We'll go down here so that you can see it. I know you're probably getting sick as this is scrolling down. This word is used a lot. All the way down. Here we go. The face, as the face that is turned. So it's used in many, many ways, literally and figuratively, and it's from pana, and it means to turn. To turn, by implication, to face and appear. So when we look at this, so this relation of that which we grasp a hold of, the instruction, is so that we can face, turn, and appear. And it was from pana, but look, now we have, the power has been given to us on the inside because the yod was placed in the center, which has to do of the place of where we are, Source Creator dwells. It's the power that is within that is connected to our heart. Our heart has been empowered. And look, they will be appearing, facing, being seen as the teaching shepherds of life that have been given the mouth to speak forth this revelation, the revelation of the spiritual path, the journey one must take, which is the seed of life that produces heirs and continuity, that is the power given to reveal the teachings of Father, where you are now in the waters of shalom, of peace, instead of the waters of chaos. This is the goddess who is now carrying revelation on the inside. And Hey Mem is a Hebrew word that means in the likeness of. So this is them appearing in the likeness of revelation, the teaching shepherds of life. That is an incredible verse. It connects Elohim, it connects Asherah, it connects the seraphic message, it connects the Lamb, the language, being able to explain with clarity why the instruction is necessary, so that we have authority on the inside of our heart as Aleph Lamed, and it is given to us through the twin covenants of Mother and Father that are meant to empower us, because this is the burning message that we must grasp to give us power. Oh my gosh, that was a lot of information. But it was absolutely amazing, and hopefully you were able to track with that. So we've gone over an hour. I want to just finish this up and say, if any of you, 14 of you still stuck on with us, this is great. I'm glad that 14 of you are still here. Does anybody have any questions right now? Because if you do, this is a very excellent time for you to answer, or to ask them. So if you want to type them in the comment section, if not, I will hold it open for just a few more minutes. If you have questions regarding what I just shared, great. Even bring in, that would be wonderful as well. I'm holding the space so that you guys can do that. Thank you, Treya. I'm glad. I'm glad that we were able to do this live. This is my favorite thing to do, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do it live is I actually wanted to kind of show the process. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. I wanted to show you kind of the process of digging out and why down to the root, to the static position of 0 point. I've shared it before. It's like a lump of clay that has all its potential energy that is just waiting for us to do something with it. And as Elohim in our creation, as we learn that we are creators, we are creating our own reality. But we must find best first. Yes, Tina, thank you. Please, I would love you hit the thumbs up on this. I hear people say it all the time, and sometimes I get a little irritated with it. But you know what? YouTube does have its algorithms, so I really appreciate that. Hi, Chicken Little. Yes, yes. I know if you're new to this, there's so much information, and we have so many videos on our YouTube channel. You could start anywhere. And the more that you saturate yourself with this information, you are actually planting a seed within you in your spirit level. And as you enter into the study of the letters of light and love, you'll be able to connect the dots because you've been hearing this. It's already seeded within you so that it can germinate. And then in the germination process, it is giving us the legs underneath us to stand. Because that's what we're needing to do. We need to be standing Elohim, taking reality for us, because the mess that we're in would for the sake of our learning, but we are also the ones that are going to create the cure to this, to be able to right the ship through that which we created. So I really appreciate that, and I'm very happy that the new people are here. I am very thankful that those of you who have been here for a while have hung in on this live stream. Does anybody else have any other questions? I know that I did have somebody ask before too as to why we are doing this, why we are taking the time. First of all, it's important that there are many people that are bringing forth messages very similar to this about the oneness principle, the oneness unity. I and my Father are one. The message that Yeshua was trying to teach the early. We are wanting to show it. We want to show that it's in the writings themselves. So the people that have been sharing this message that Spirit has been, the Spirit has been giving to us, is we're fixing it. And we're actually taking this information, and then we're going, okay, so the people that have actually shared that, they now have something to say, yeah, it's here. It's here. It's been written all along. Think a lot about how long these sacred writings have been with us. 2,000 years, older than 2,000 years. This code has been there for the latter day generation that would have the eyes to see it, to excavate it, and present it as truth. So we know Emet is truth, and we know Kashet is. And with Kashet, we're trying to bring balance back into our reality because it got so skewed. So the Elohim actually have this revelation on the inside of them. And that's why so many people are having this oneness unity, because the revelation is already there. It's already within you. God that reveals the goddess, because we are one. And we're bringing this forward to reveal it to mankind, so that those who have been speaking this can say, see, it's right here. I wasn't pulling it out of thin air. My spirit shared it. And so now the word is backing it up. So now we have spirit and truth. Those who are worshiping in spirit and truth. And worship is that which we do. That is what we do. Oh, I love this. Thank you, Brandon. I love this. They were there even before the shorthand was written. That's right. That's exactly right. In the beginning. That's why in the beginning, Aleph Tav, in the beginning, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning, the Aleph and the Tav. The Elohim in the beginning that created are now here in the end to be able to bring resolution to this whole problem. And so if you guys are here and you're seeing this message, we are part of the solution. We are the solution. We are the resolve by becoming it. And so Ken and I are revealing this through the sacred languages to be able to show the concreteness of this message and what it has done for Ken and I in elevating our consciousness to be able to see these things. Every time that you look into the sacred languages and dig out a verse, you then are changing the narrative and rewriting it. So what they did is they took it and they brought it into a lesser vibration in English, and they took the sacred writings and they diminished it, and they hid the reality of who we are, keeping us in the lesser narrative in religion to keep us in the place where somebody was over us. And now the Church of Rome, because really Rome never went away, it just became the Vatican. Rome is now losing over us because we're learning to stand. And that is why we're bringing this forward, so that we can rewrite the sacred writings into one verse, the unified verse of oneness, unity, that will lift the consciousness of mankind to match what Gaia is doing as she is also rising up, so that we can go into the new age and the new earth of light and love. I've heard before that they said that on the outside of it, 70 years is what it's going to take for us to actually enter in to the age of light and love. But it was also shared through the pyramid codes that it doesn't have to take that long. So the more of us that enter into the sacred language of love and light, by elevating our consciousness, we are impacting humanity collectively so that we can all shift together. Because as we make this and put this within consciousness, it allows people to grasp it easier. There have been people that have been following this path and sloshing, taking and hacking out the weeds and the trees and the bushes to make a path for humanity to follow for a long time. But now we're needing to do it much quicker. And that's why Ken and I want to bring these languages of light and love to the forefront, so that people can begin to do this in a much quicker process, because there's many, many that are wanting to get out of this lower matrix and enter into the new earth. And we're creating it right now by what we are doing as Elohim, by fixing the mess. So you guys, this is the work as we are bringing this forward, as we are helping everyone shift consciously, and you guys are the forerunners. If you are here, if you are hearing this message and it is resonating, you are part of the resolve. This is why we incarnated. This is why we are. And many of us are from the Qumran community in this time, because this is the work indeed of what we are doing. And we are getting to bring this message so all of humanity can connect to it. It's been so overwhelming for Ken and I doing this for the last 5 years, and it had to have the right energy behind it to support this message. This is why I had to wait for the changing of the guard into entering into the age of Aquarius, of the water bearer, to bring forth the living water teachings, because now we've shifted over into this new cycle that will then be able to allow people to shift more quickly, because water, living water teachings through the age of Aquarius, is being poured out upon us. And that's why these languages are now being able to surface, because the energies are backing and supporting it up. So I did have a question real quick about Chicken Little asked about what Ken's channel is. Ken's channel is also the same. It's the Stand 121. His a lot of his teachings are under the tab on the playlist Excavations at Dawn. I think that's what it is. And under that playlist is generally all of Ken's sharings, where he and I are discussing things in the morning of things that he's excavated. So if you want to hear more specifically of what he's doing, please go and look at that playlist. Let's see. Yeah, I totally get that. This why Ken and I wanted to make sure that we wanted to share that if it isn't in the word, it's hard to be truth. And that's why I need to bring it forward, so you can see that these things were written 1,000 years ago, thousands of years ago, for us to bring to the forefront here and now. So this is so amazing. And yeah, Chicken Little, I'm going to share yours as well, because I think this is something that I think is important for people to see. So are those truths aware without the language still contributing? Yes, absolutely. I feel like I have just to keep believing my truths because I'm affecting the collective. Absolutely. There are many people right now that are sowing into the collective that don't have the revelation of these languages. They have other jobs to do. The things that they are doing is lifting humanity. They just have different fields of study. Nassim Harim with Haramim, I butchered his name. His quantum physics that he's doing with a unified field is just sowing into the collective and blowing things wide open. And there are many, many, many more that are doing it. This is just what our piece is, to be able to help with the foundation of slipping a floor underneath that which is being built, to say we have a foundation that we can all start from, that unifies us through these sacred letters in order to raise us up. Again, like I said in the very beginning, if you were able to see the beginning of this live stream, we were talking about how mother and father's teaching are foundational for us to raise our children up in the way that they should go, so that when they are adults, they won't depart from it, because they see it's the building process. They're building their temple, but they're also building the collective consciousness as humanity as a whole. Because again, it's micro and macro. Micro is Adam, mankind. Ha-Adamah, mankind, that is carrying the revelation of mother and father that are meant to be revealed. And so many people are doing many different things. It's a patchwork quilt that is coming together, and we're all holding our own space of the task that was given to us. So yes, hold on to your truth. Put it into the collective. This is just our portion to play for those that are drawn to the sacred languages of light and love, that were potentially part of the Qumran community, because that's what they were all built upon. And again, yes, Renee, totally. It's the bridge. That is what we are doing. Um, we are building the bridge for the biblical background. And that, thank you for mentioning that, because it is true. Many people that have been raised in a Christian background, such as myself, we needed to have this to see what was the undercurrent that was being given. This is a bridge that is being connect to other people like New Age movement, so that we can come together in clarity of at odds with one another, to see that we actually have more in common than we do not. Those that are willing to step outside of the religious box. And so I love some of these comments. It's so great. Thank you, Treya, for sharing this. And it is, the light is being revealed in our blood. I did share teaching on that a couple weeks back, if you want to so on the YouTube channel, that light is in our blood. And this is what is being revealed as we are building our light garments. Our wedding gown is our light garments. So that kuf of the koshet is compressing light within us that is going to be revealed in the time of the revealing. So whether you're studying the languages or you're actually listening to them, it is getting into your spirit, because this vibrational frequency is that of creation that the Elohim put forward in the beginning that is being revealed in the end. So amazing. Thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you were able to track with this. I will get better with the software. Is I just got to practice with it. This is the second time I've used it. And it took a while on Zoom with my friend Regina too, to be able to navigate through it. So I love you all. And I pray blessings upon all of you, that source, that creator would bring these revelations and cement them within you, and that we would be that answer. We would be the temple of answers, Bayitanoth, that all of humanity is looking for as they are asking questions of how do we resolve this, that as Elohim, we are going to fix it, and we are the resolve by being the answer that they're looking for, but we must first become it ourselves. That is the greatest gift that we can do for mankind, to lift it up in unity, is becoming oneness ourself, and then manifesting it and showing that there is a way and we can do it, and we are building it right now together. I'm honored that I can hold out my hand and grasp our hands with one another as we walk all of this out, because we have amazing things that are in store for us, and we're right in the middle of the greatest transition, and we incarnated for such a time as this, so that we can make the difference. All of humanity is crying out. The planet has been crying out for the manifested sons and daughters that realize that we are Elohim, God revealing the goddess in the time of the age of light and love. System busters, that's right. Shalom, shalom.